Welcome to another edition of the Glittery Bones. It's more glitter than bones today of advertising. I'm Craig McLeod.
I'm Gabs.
Hi, Gabs. Nice of
And
you to chime
Caro
in.
back again. Huh?
Caro, aka Bert Turner, Third Schnapple. Hi,
Oh.
nice to see you. We are
I'm
missing
here.
the brains on the male side of things today. We just have the tomfoolery fool joining us. That'll be yours truly. We're going to take a look at something that captured his attention. So let's jump straight in and take a look at this and let me know what you think. Okay. I'm going to start by handing the ball to you, Caroline HENDRIKS.
Yes. So Masterpiece by Coca-Cola. It's epic. It's huge. It's massive. Looking at, I guess, a bit of the backstory of it, it really plays into their Real Magic brand platform that they've kind of extended off, and it is just speechless. It's amazing. I loved it. Let's just say I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved all of the art. It took me back to uni days of, the Renaissance and Van Gogh and the girl with the pearl earring and all of those bits that came together that obviously spent an absolute fortune on it. I believe they got the best of the best producers and post production and animation and everything. You can tell like it's flawless, I would say. And yeah, I honestly can't fault it. It's a big brand piece, and it's epic. Like,
What was the tagline? What was the tagline? What was the end frame? Tell me what that was. Can you remember what it was?
oh, can't even remember. It was just Coke.
Okay, Gabs, can you remember it? What it was?
Like making magic
I
something.
think it played into the Real Magic platform.
I think you're right. I think they've gone full tilt, full throttle on this masterpiece, making magic. One of Johnny's points that he wanted to put together is that it doesn't seem like magic. It seems more like CGI is what they've sort of invested their money in. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with what JD's saying, but his point was rather than it being truly masterful and creating magic, it seemed like they've gone down this path of absolute CGI potential and capability. What can they possibly do? How far can they possibly go? Which lends to what you were saying, Caro.
Yeah.
in my opinion, being an animation lover, I thought it ticked so many boxes for me. The only part that fell short is I wasn't left with what I think they want the brand essence to be. The magic part didn't stick. Like this all masterful and the creativity, it didn't really stick at the end for me. I kind of felt like, asking you guys, we're not exactly sure how they're trying to position themselves in my mind. What are the words that they wanted me to keep at the end of it? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with you on that, but I also think that's due to the length of it. Like it goes for so long.
I'm sure there'll be shorts.
So much to take in that by the end of it, like Cara said, I'm speechless. Like you're just so swept up in it and you kind of lose, like Cara and I both didn't really take that much notice of the end frame and that final sentiment because it's like you're in this other world. But I agree. I don't know about the positioning. Like I think open happiness and that whole story that they told for so many years felt so more, it resonated with me a lot more. And I felt, I don't know, I was a bit perplexed just to the audience that they were trying to capture and if that's kind of too niche for the brand. But I did love, we're trying to say something positive about every ad. So, you can't go past like the animation and the fluidity of going from sort of animation back into real life. It's so seamless. You almost don't know where it begins and ends.
It's amazingly well done, I reckon.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I still love it. I think it's got all the magic. I was blown away to realize, and I think it's one of those things that like it captures your attention and you're like, what are they trying to do? And that made me dig a little bit deeper and to realize that Coke was created only 7 years after the first Van Gogh was painted. Like it's that old, which is amazing. Like, and that's where they're not saying we're art, but they're saying that like we have such a heritage. Like they play in that kind of space. And that for me, I was like, fuck me, like, are they really that old? And they are. So I kind of give a tick to that. And also it sprang off like looking at the creative direction on it and how they kind of came to be with the idea. It was around Andy Warhol's super famous paintings of the Coke bottle. So that's where the whole like creative kind of idea of this art comes to life, comes to everyday, came from. So I think it was, like you say, Gabs, it's really niche, but I think it's something that like Andrew Warhol painted Coke. Like that's huge. So I think it's something that only their brand can do.
Yeah. But my question is then have creative and strategy gotten so swept up in their idea and all of this history and knowledge that they know, but to the average punter watching this, they don't like that. That's not obvious. You don't draw those, I guess, like that conclusion too easily without doing that research.
Well, I think as well, there's so many pieces of art in there that like everyone would know at least one of them. Do you know what I mean? Like it is that, and just how much it's blown up online as well. Like it really has got people talking about the brand. And yes, we didn't recall the tagline at the end, but I think Coke as a brand, it's not overly necessary either. Like there's Coke all the way through it. That do you need a tagline to know that it's Coke or to like remember that it's Coke? I think in this instance you don't. Don't know. Just gonna leave it there. But yeah.
Okay. Well, that's some very healthy debate amongst you two on that one. And from one of my favorite brands of all time ever, probably the most beautiful font I've ever seen written anywhere ever to make up their branding and logo. I tip my hat. I just say it was extraordinary. You've done an amazing thing that really does traverse the history, but also I think to Gab's point, when it comes out, I doubt that it will be the mini movie length that we've all watched that will show. I think there will be shorts that really do take you specifically to the magic at the end. But interesting one. And I thought JD made a good point as well. But let's take a little look at something that's a little different, shall we? Let's take a look at the toughest questions in advertising. And I'm actually going to read this one, if I may. I'm just going to jump back into a different screen and come to it. Is calling it the creative department elitist, or just telling it like it is? Now, this has come from our good friend.
I'll let one of you guys go first, because I am in the creative department.
It's easy for me. That's a snap. That's not elitist from me at all. It's just what it is. The creative department's what it is. And I guess the difference in my mind is that the creative department doesn't stop with someone who uses the Adobe suite in our organization. The creative department, transcends. So I don't see it as elitist. I see it as fabulous, and I see it as what it is. Like, it doesn't faze me one little bit.
What about you, Gav?
I agree with Craig. I don't see it as elitist, but I also think this question very much depends on who you ask. And people who aren't in our industry would often say, and may think, oh, they just paint the pretty pictures, but they definitely don't understand the level of thinking and the level of time it takes to come up with the ideas that really hit the brief and that make an impact. And I also think as well, like, some of the best advertising and some of the stuff that we review on the Bones are the simplest ideas, but the simplest ideas are often the hardest ones to come up with, like the ones that are so simple yet so clever. Like, you're always reaching for that. So no, I don't think it's elitist at all. And I do not envy Caroline the pressure with coming up with the big idea.
I agree. I don't think it's elitist either. I think it's just, you don't say like the accounts are elitist because they call themselves the accounts, or this is elitist, the mechanic, because he calls himself a mechanic. Like, it is just what our department is called. And I think sometimes there's confusion between like ideas and creative, because they're two very different things. Like, an idea, I guess, can come from anyone, and that's what we love, the idea that an idea can come from anyone or from any department. But I think the difference is that the creative department has a basis of, I guess, the technical knowledge and the ability to take an idea and visualize that and be able to show that to someone that doesn't know what the idea was and get them to understand that. So I think that's, if we go back to Coke, the real magic of the creative department is bringing, the old saying of bringing ideas to life is where we are. But in no means is that elitist. That's just calling it what it is. We are the creative department.
I mean, now, what else do you call the creative department? Like, what other name would they have? I don't know.
If I was to take JD's soapbox here, I think that he has posed this question simply because he would like to say it is elitist. They need to all get off their high horse. They all think they're better than everyone else. But I'm not going to run with that sentiment one little bit, just because he would have done that simply to be, the adversary for what we're all talking about today. He would just like to have debated it on the other side of the fence, saying,
I think like elitist is
a stretch.
I think elitist is a funny word as well. Like,
well, we think we're better than
creativity is but I don't know. I guess maybe
that's
because
the question, buddy.
I don't feel like, elitist to me is like corporate bankers are like the elitists that, are way up there with like dealing with lots of money and all. That's what comes to me when I think of elite. You could say that creatives are sensitive. I think that's probably, probably a point that we're sensitive, or we believe in our ideas. And once you know how much goes into creating something, I think it's okay that you're quite protective of it. But a good designer needs to be able to take feedback and go, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. And that makes sense. Maybe I'm too close to this. If I take a step back, perhaps it shouldn't be pink, or, it shouldn't be blue, or whatever it may be. But yeah, I wish JD was here so I could fight with him, but he's not. Damn it.
Yes, well, That, my friends, is another edition of the Bones of Advertising. Don't go changing. We'll be here next week. All the very best. Toodaloo.
Bye.
Bye.